What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Tuesday, January 25th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this 9-game slate. So at the point guard position, now I think this is a good opportunity to snag this player. He's priced down, he's in a good matchup, he has excellent player versus team history. So I like Russell Westbrook from the LA Lakers playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 11th worst defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Russell Westbrook has averaged 42.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 39.1 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 45 fantasy points or more in this matchup, get you over 5 times value. He's 8,300 DraftKings salary, 200 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 226 points scored in this game, and Russell Westbrook has scored 47, 48, and 25 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 35, and 26 minutes. So I like this pick because Russell Westbrook has scored 48, 69, 74, and 50 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Nets. So I like Russell Westbrook here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. This player is also eligible at the small forward position. I like Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves playing the Portland Trail Blazers, who have the 9th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Anthony Edwards has averaged 38.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 36.7 fantasy points, but I think he can get to his average or more, 38.5 fantasy points or more, and score 5 times value or more. He's 7,600 DraftKings salary, but he's 900 less on FanDuel. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game, and Anthony Edwards has scored 38, 28, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 23, and 39 minutes. Now, Anthony Edwards has scored 36, 46, 38, and 36 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Trailblazers. So pretty decent player versus team history there. So I like Anthony Edwards, especially on FanDuel here versus the Portland Trailblazers. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. So here's somewhat of a value play for you. I like Eric Gordon from the Houston Rockets playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Eric Gordon has averaged 24 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 25.2 fantasy points here tonight, That's 5.4 times value. He's 4,700 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 235.5 points scored in this game, so a super high scoring game and a good game to stack. Now, Eric Gordon has scored 16, 22, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, but he's played 33, 35, and 31 minutes, so he's playing a lot of minutes in a great matchup, and he has good player versus team history as well. He scored 43, 41, and 35 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Spurs. So I like Eric Gordon here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Here's a decent mid-range play. I like Keldon Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Houston Rockets, who have the worst defense overall. They give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Keldon Johnson has averaged 27.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 27.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.5 times value. He's only 5,000 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel, and we know Vegas thinks there's going to be 235.5 points scored in this game. And Keldon Johnson has scored 28, 26, and 17 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 31, and 22 minutes. So I like Keldon Johnson here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, moving on to the center position. Let's see here. Here's a mid-range play. A little bit of risk here. I guess he's going to play. He was dealing with a finger issue. He's expected to take the court. I think he's going to be fine. He scored 31 fantasy points last game, played 30 minutes, so he should be good to go. So I like Robert Covington from the Portland Trail Blazers playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 10th worst defense overall. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing centers. Robert Covington also available as a power forward, and he's averaging 22.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He's projected at 25.3 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 29 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,600 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. Robert Covington has scored 31, 13, and 30 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 38, and 37 minutes. And let's see, he scored 32, 40, and 24 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Timberwolves. So if you're willing to take a risk on this player, you're not going to worry about that finger issue, I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this one. But I do understand if you don't want to risk it with this play, but he's got a good matchup, and he's a decent mid-range play here who's playing a bunch of minutes. It's got that 30-plus fantasy point upside. So I like Robert Covington here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. So let me see if I can find another pick at the center position. If you don't want to roll the dice with Robert Covington, you could roll the dice with PJ Washington for 4,900 DraftKings salary and 100 less on FanDuel. Now, PJ Washington has scored 30 and 35 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 31 and 26 minutes. He's also got a great player versus team history here versus the Toronto Raptors. He scored 28, 41, 42, 31, and 20 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Raptors. So he only needs about 24, 25 fantasy points to get you 5 times value. So I like PJ Washington here versus the Toronto Raptors. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.